be careful about being weighed down by the invisible work that women lawyers and lawyers of color can often get shouldered with at law firms. What am I talking about when I'm talking about invisible work? So it can be something meaningful like networking events or speaking engagements, or even being asked to help co-author a white paper. But then there can be the not so meaningful tasks like hosting and planning parties, decorating, or getting left with the administrative tasks like ordering supplies for the office. So how do you avoid getting shouldered with these invisible duties, this invisible work? I've fallen into this trap myself, trying to show the firm that you are dedicated to being there, trying to show that you're a team player, trying to figure out the things that will help you grow your practice and grow your network. And what I've come to realize is the times where I spent way too much energy on the invisible work were the times where I failed to set good, solid boundaries, because at the end of the day, you are the master of your time and no one else is going to protect it for you. So how do you go about setting good boundaries and figuring out what work you should be doing and how you should best be spending your time? I think the first thing you have to do is get really clear about what your core values and what your career goals are. When you are really clear on your values and your career goals, it gets a lot easier to filter through anything that you're asked to do when you use those as a baseline. So your core values are the things that make you you, that you're passionate about, that you don't necessarily get paid for. Volunteering to read to children, volunteering at homeless shelters, or advocating for women who have been victims of domestic violence. So once you've gotten clear on your career goals and what your values are, ask yourself 3 questions whenever you are faced with being invited to have an opportunity. 1, does this thing advance my career goals? 2, does this give me an opportunity to show off my skill set and show off my knowledge to people who make a difference? And then the last question you have to ask yourself is, does this thing align with my values? So once you have figured out whether or not it aligns with your values and your career goals, the next step is the hardest step. And that's being able to say no. Saying no and setting boundaries is the hardest thing for us to do, especially as women who have been socialized to be people pleasers. Oftentimes we are so worried about the reaction we're going to get when we say no. So you want to practice saying no, right? Figure out in advance how you are going to turn down opportunities, even if it's coming up with a template and writing it down in a notebook. What I like to tell folks is, listen, I have filled my calendar to capacity for that month for out of work obligations, but please keep me in mind for next year. Adding please keep me in mind to your no leaves the door open for future opportunities. The other thing you want to consider when formulating your no is asking for an alternative. I cannot do this month, but what is the schedule looking like 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when I am more clear? That keeps the door open for opportunities. Qualifying and setting boundaries around what you're willing to do, when you're willing to do it, and how you are willing to do it is a softer way of saying no that leaves the door open for future opportunities. People, when you set boundaries, may not like it, but what I have found is they will respect it. The danger in not setting boundaries is this. You get so overwhelmed with speaking and writing papers and planning parties and not setting boundaries that you're not billing hours, you're not doing the work that you are still responsible for, because you only have so much time in a day. At the end of the day, you are the master of your time and the master of your energy, and no one is going to protect it like you will. Because what will happen once you are exhausted and once people have used all of you up is they will move on to the next person. So you have to protect you. Establish your boundaries, get comfortable saying no, and make sure you are not being overwhelmed by the invisible work.